What's up guys, Shawnthebro here. In today's episode of the first person shooter tutorial series, we are going to be going over music. So as you see here, I'm at the main menu and there is music playing in the background, which we never had before. Also going to be setting up an initial music system as well, so it's not just playing music at a certain time, but actually changing songs. So if we go to the campaign, then we will actually play music for this mode as well. Before we hop into this episode, if you want to check out how we've implemented everything else in this series, from our movement to our weapons and enemies, I'll link you to the first person shooter tutorial series right here in the top right corner. Alternatively, if you don't care about that and you only care about the music, then I'll link you to this episode right here in the top right corner, which is where we went over sound effects, since they're very similar. But with that out of the way, we can go ahead and get started. So this is a code and blueprint tutorial series. We're going to be starting in the code today, but there will be some blueprint components as well. The first thing we need to do is determine how we're going to track our music, or what music should be playing. And a good way to do this is using the base game instance. The base game instance is a class that we're going to make. It's a child of the game instance that Unreal has. And the game instance persists between levels. So we can have music playing on one level, and then on another level, we decide we want different music to play. The base game instance can be in charge of that. Additionally, when we get into things like level streaming, it's going to be really useful to know what music is currently playing. That way we can perhaps change that based on what we're loading in or other factors in the world. So first things first, let's go and add a new C++ class. So I'm going to go back to my C++ classes and I'm going to click add and new C++ class. All classes, and I'm going to search for GameInstance. I'm going to pick the regular GameInstance class right here. So you can select this one and then hit next, and you just want to name it whatever. So I called mine base game instance. I already have it, so it's not going to let me do that. But you should be able to do this, and then you can go ahead and select create class here, and it will automatically create this for you. Once it completes, the editor may close on its own, or you may have to close it, or not, depending on what you had open, how you launched Unreal, and a few other factors. Regardless though, I recommend closing it once it creates the class. That way we can enter our code and then we'll relaunch afterward. So if done correctly, it will get added to your source folder. So I have source and then my project, which is FPS tutorial, and in here I have my basegameinstance.h and basegameinstance.cpp. So basegameinstance.cpp is only going to have this when you start it up. Just what's highlighted here, the copyright notice and the include to the header file. If you go into your basegameinstance.h, you're going to have all these includes here except for this one that I'm highlighting right now. The U class with the generated body, and then a closing bracket. So anything that I did not highlight during that little section there is going to be what we're adding today. So let's start in basegameinstance.h. Let's add an include right off the bat. That's going to be include component/audio component.h. This is going to be useful because we are going to keep track of the music that is currently playing. Now once we have that include, the next thing I want to add is an enum, and that's going to be our eMusic type, or essentially the type of music that we want to play. So start out by typing uenum blueprint type. This way we can access this enum in blueprints. Then we're going to make the actual enum class, and I'm calling it eMusic type. It's going to be of type unsigned integer 8-bit, so you see colon uint8. Then we have to make our enum values, so I have two for now. I'm going to have my main menu and my tutorial, or basically my main menu and my actual gameplay music. So first one I have is e_main menu, so it's going to be the music on my main menu. And then I have umeta display name equals main menu. This section right here is determining what this enum is going to look like in the blueprints. So if we're trying to access this enum type in a switch statement in a blueprint, and an equals in a blueprint, it will show up as this name. Not the e_main menu, but just main menu in caps. Then I have a comma, and I've added another line, e_tutorial, and that display name is tutorial. Now going into the actual class here, the uBaseGameInstance, we want to make our constructor. The constructor is what fires when this object gets created, and we can set all of our default values for our variables in there. So if you just type the name of the class, that's the standard way to make a constructor. In pretty much all of C++, there are a few exceptions, and there's a few things you can do to overload constructors and do things that we're not going to be talking about today. So just call it the same name as the class, uBaseGameInstance, put parentheses and a semicolon there to make the constructor. Then I have the public keyword here so that we can make two variables that are going to be visible and editable in the blueprints. And these two variables are music type and music ref. So the first one is the type of music that is currently playing, set to play, or had last played. It's not the actual reference, it's just the type, it's just the identifier. So it's just the enum type. So eMusic type, music type. And I've made this a U property of edit anywhere, blueprint rewrite with a category of music. The other variable is what we needed our include for. It's a U audio component pointer called music ref. And this is going to be the actual audio component that we spawn that we're listening to. That's playing music, that's looping, that's doing all these things. I've also made this U property of edit anywhere, blueprint rewrite, and category of music. So the U properties will allow us to view these and edit these things in the blueprint. With those variables created, we can go into the base game instance.cpp and set up our constructor. So everything highlighted here is what we need to add. So U base game instance, : U base game instance. And we're going to set the default values for variables here. So music type is going to start as eMusic type, : E_main menu, and music ref is going to start as null pointer. These are our default values for our music. Once you have those things set up, you can go ahead and launch the editor. The editor is back open, so now all we have to do is determine when we want to play our music. And for now, we are just going to do that in the level blueprint to make sure we can do it. In the future, we will improve that process and make it more dynamic. So if you're in Unreal Engine 4, there will be a button right here somewhere that says Blueprints, and you can click that and then select Open Level Blueprint. In Unreal Engine 5, you can click this graph button here and then select Open Level Blueprint. So here is my event begin play. This is what we were using to add the main menu widget to the screen in our main menu level. I've added some behavior after this to get our game instance, set the music type, and then play the proper music based off of that, saving out a reference to it. So it's actually quite simple. We're going to get the current game instance, get game instance, and we need to cast it to our type, which is our new type that we made, base game instance. Then we can drag off our base game instance and set the music type, because right now we're just setting it based off the level we're on and nothing else. So if we're loading up the main menu, then the current music that we want to play is the main menu music. We may not always want to play the main menu music on the main menu. We may want to cycle through or have a few different tracks for the main menu. So instead of just automatically creating the sound based off of this, I am going to drag off into a switch statement, switch on eMusic type, which means we can determine what happens based on the selection that's passed into the switch statement. This is really useful. Again, if we have like randomized music, we can randomize the track that we get, pass that into the switch statement, and then play the proper music based on that. So now I want to call create sound 2D. And for the main menu, we are going to select our main menu music sound. Now for me, I'm just using starter content music. So I have starter music cue right here. So I select that one. For my tutorial, I'm actually playing fire sound effect, just fire. Again, just working with the starter content stuff, but if you hear the sound of fire, then you'll know it is working. So create sound 2D, sound of fire. Now, the create sound 2D does return an audio component object reference, so what we want to do is keep track of this sound 2D that we're creating by assigning our music ref to the created object. So I'm going to grab my base game instance here, drag off of it, and I'm going to set music ref. And I'm going to just return that value into the music reference. We're going to do that for each of these. And then lastly, once we have our reference, we want to play that music as well. So we can drag off of our audio component music ref here and type play. And we can leave the start time as 0 because we want to start from the beginning. And this will play our music if you plug it in like I have here. So right after add a viewport, I have this whole chain of logic. Now, we could make this a more universal function, but since we only have 2 songs for right now, I am just going to go to my other level and do the same thing. So let's go to first person CPP, maps, first person example map. I'm going to go into my level blueprint, go to event begin play. Now in here, I wasn't creating a widget. In fact, I wasn't using event begin play, so it was here, but nothing was in it. If you need to grab it, you can just type event begin play, and it will pop up. Now in here you can see I'm getting my game instance, casting it to my base game instance type, setting the music type to tutorial this time because we're not in the main menu anymore, dragging it into the switch statement. The create sounds are the same, but this time it's going to take the tutorial path and play the fire cue. Music reference is being set to the created sounds, and then we're playing the music. So we'll be good to go there. Let's go back to our main menu level. And let's assign this project to use that game instance. So if we go to Edit Project Settings, we can search for Game Instance. And you'll see this Game Instance section here that says Game Instance Class. And we can change it. It would normally just be Game Instance. We want to change it to our base game instance that we just made. You could also change this on the individual maps themselves if you'd rather. But in our case for this game, we're going to always want to use this one. Anyway guys, that's all I got for you today, so thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please subscribe, and consider joining the Patreon, YouTube membership, or Discord subscription tiers for more benefits. If you ran into any issues following this tutorial, or would like some assistance with any of my other tutorials, feel free to join the Discord community. There's a link in the description, and I would be happy to help you. Anyway guys, that's all I got, so thank you so much for watching. I'm Shawnthebro, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye guys.